Hello, YouTube and X. It's your main man, BTM here, bringing you back to the BTM Crypto News Network. So thanks for joining. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Something big is happening in the XRP world. The company behind XRP, Ripple Labs, is expanding further into the global payments market by acquiring the BC Payments, a move that could help secure regulatory licensing in Australia. At the same time, a new analysis looked at 13 different artificial intelligence models predicting where XRP could be heading in the coming years. Some of the predictions might surprise you. Today, we're breaking down what the expansion means, what AI thinks could happen to the XRP price. Welcome back to the channel. If you follow XRP, crypto markets, and institutional adoption, you're in the right place. Today, we're talking about two major developments: Ripple expanding into Australia, API predictions for XRP's future price. Let's break it down. First, the big news: Ripple's reportedly moving to acquire BC Payments, an Australian payment company. The move is significant because it could help Ripple secure licensing in financial systems. What does that mean? Because regulatory approval allows companies like Ripple to operate payment services legally in new markets, expansion of global payments infrastructure, access to new financial markets, and further cross border transactions. Ripple's has spent several years building technology aimed at improving cross border payments. Traditional international payments can take days to settle and involve high fees. Ripple's technology attempts to make these transfers faster, more efficient, and using blockchain infrastructure. So we'll get into that in a minute. I want to play a quick, actually, a couple of quick shorts. So this is my main man, Jake. Let's see what Jake has to say real quick, and we'll be right back. Tripping. I didn't even start the screen share. Let me start the screen share so you guys can see my main man, Jake, real quick. So let's give Jake the floor again.
Dumped back down over the last. I said that I thought that oil priced in yen needed to be above 12.5 or 13,000 in order for the Bank of Japan to have to move. Well, we got a lot more than that on Sunday night. It went all the way up to almost 18,000 yen per barrel, and we dumped back down over the last day here. But Japan is waking up right now. Markets in South Korea are already collapsing again. Stock market in Japan's down, or sorry, not Japan, but in China's down 5+% at the open. This isn't going away. Once you have inflation in an economy, these things take a little bit of time to play out. I would like them to move very quickly also, believe me. But what I'll say is all of the conditions are still being met for the reverse carry trade to unwind, for the Bank of Japan to come out and have to raise interest rates, which is exactly what we need in order for everything to continue to unfold here in the domino theory that I've been talking about for 2 years. So be patient, give it a little bit of time, and I'm confident that we are going to continue to see these macroeconomic events continue to transpire, which leads to, the price appreciation for XRP.
So as Jake says, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cats and dogs, just be patient and continue to hang in there. What up, Silver Days? Thanks for joining. Shout out to Silver Days, the hardest working person in the crypto market. Thanks for joining. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe and super chat if you get a chance. So this is another quick short. This is Discover Crypto. Let's see what he has to say real quick, and then we'll look at the bubbles.
Down 24% since the start of the year, but smart money is buying. And the way we know this is by looking at the XRP ETF inflows. In fact, XRP has taken in $1.4 billion. Now, when you buy ETFs and you have over $100 million in assets, you have to file what they call a 13F. And because of that, we know who is buying the XRP ETFs. And when you look at the top name, the number one holder, Goldman Sachs. And they have $153 million worth of exposure, dwarfing everybody else. So what does Goldman Sachs know about XRP? XRP is down 24% since the start of the year, but smart money is buying. And the way we know this is by looking at the XRP ETF inflows. In fact, XRP has taken in $1.4 billion. Now, when you buy ETFs and you have over $100 million in assets, you have to file what they call a 13F. And because of that, we know who is buying the XRP ETFs. And when you look at the top name, the number one holder, Goldman Sachs. And they have $153 million worth of exposure, dwarfing everybody else. So what does Goldman Sachs know about XRP?
And that's what we were saying yesterday, because they were saying that the banks don't like crypto, but clearly they like Goldman has some interest in XRP. So let me know what you guys think about that. Let's look at the bubbles real quick. So looks like the market is kind of weird. So thanks for joining on this Thursday, which is Friday Eve. So we've almost made it. So on the bubbles, looks like Monero's up 0.2 on the day. BitTensor Tiles up 6.8. Algorand's up 0.7. Quant is up 0.9. Swarm is up 1.4. Q or K ZK, I'm tripping, is up 1.3. XNO is up 0.9. Alchemy Pay is up 0.4. Cubic's up 3%. Jasmine is up 0.9. Pi is up 10.4. Satoshi's is up 16%. XVS is up 4.7. World Liberty Fund. Why do I keep saying that? World Mobile Token. I don't know why I always say World Liberty. Is up 3.1. Near's up 3.9. Hyperliquid's up 3.6. XDC is up 1.9. Nero's up 3.2. Hex, what is this? Hash Flow is up 3.9. Render is up 5.3. FET is up 2.8. Prime's up 1.5. AIOZ's up 0.8. XCEN is up 1.3. Just typing something. Let's see here. Organize up 1%. I think that's all for the up. Trump's down 4.9. Canton Network's down 2.5. Telecoin's down 1.3. Bitcoin SC is down 2.1. Let's jump on over to the big boys. Bitcoin is down 0.7 on the day, 0.2 on the hour, 0.9 on the week. up 1.9 on the month, down 15.4 for the year to 70,000. Back in that 70,273 range. Can't break the 70,000, 60,000 range. Ethereum is down 0.5 on the day, down 0.3 on the hour, down 0.3 for the week, up 2.4 on the month, up 6% on the year to 2,059. Binance is down 0.2 on the day, unchanged on the hour at $651.40, up 0.5 on the week, down up 5.7 for the month, and up 17% on the year. Keeping it moving. XRP is down 1.5 on the day, down 0.1 on the hour, down 1.5 on the week, down 1.7 on the month, and down 37.1 on the year to $1.37.9. Closing out the bubbles, going over to X. Make sure you sign up for the BTM Crypto News Network. And actually, this was the XRP radar. And yesterday it showed 345 million. And for some reason, looks like, wait, where is it? I thought I had it open. I do have it open. Actually, yeah, they got it back updated. So maybe it was just something on their end because we're back at 1.5 billion stable coins for RLUSD. Escrow's 36.9 billion. Circling supplies 63 billion. XRP burn is 14.3 million. Exchanges hold 12.2 billion. ETFs is 777.5 million. DeFi in AMM is 234 million. Tokenized RWA is 1.5 billion, and Treasury is 473. Moving down, exchanges hold 14.2 billion. Wow. Upbit added 10.9 million. They still hold 38.1% of the on-chain exchange. Binance is unchanged at 16.4. Bithumb is 689,000 up to 12.7. Uphold unchanged at 11.6%. Bitbank is 337,000 at 4%. CoinCheck is 3.9%. El Turo's down 20,000 to 3.4. Crypto.com is inching up with 1 million to 2.3. I'm telling you guys, they're going to be in the top 5 soon. Coin One is down 112,000 to 2.2, and Bitflyer is 242,000 to 1.3%. So I guess we'll keep with the numbers since we're already on this number. So for the terminal, we're at 6.45 million. Leverage is 2.8 million. And looks like Bitwise is down 0.46 to $15.46. 3.76 million 24-hour volume. Franklin Templeton is down 0.50 to $15.04. 734,000. Grayscale is $26.84, down 0.59%. 704,000. Canary Capital's down 0.46 to $14.70. 559,000 24-hour volume. Rex Osprey is $11.34, down 0.74 to 573, and 21 shares down 0.44 to $13.43, down at 27,000. Let's see. What up, brother man? What up, Dave? What's going on with your fam? Can XRP reach 10K by 2030? James, that's a good question. I don't know. Currently, the Department of Defense has my crystal ball trying to predict something. I don't know, but they won't give it back. Can XRP reach 10K per token by 2030? That I can't tell you. 10K for XRP could happen by 2030. 15% of derivatives, 20% of world tokenization, 20% of small and large world settlement all go through XRPL and no supply of XRP. What is this? Flair, Kim's, what's going on with your fam? I need to check something real quick. So we're gonna look at this real quick from Sendel Crypto. Let's see what he has to say.
Right, and the price action confirms that. I mean, I drew these two lines right here, which suggest that a breakout is coming, and I think generally a breakout is coming as well. But the general structure right here is not a triangle trending formation. Triangle patterns work best when the market is trending, and even then, I think they're not the best indicators to use or not the best structures to use. But right now, XRP is just within this range, right? And within this range, I don't see a lot of evidence of momentum, right? I mean, the volume right now is extremely low. The momentum is up slightly. It seems like some shorts have been opened the last time that we moved into 1.34 right here on Monday. But outside of that, the open interest, the momentum, the leverage is quite low. So XRP itself, technically at this point of time, short term, it's incredibly quiet, boring, stable, right? And that is not a nice thing if you want to trade XRP. And it's also not a great sign if Bitcoin right now has broken out and certain major altcoins have also broken out and XRP has not. However, the good news, and that is mostly good news, I think, long term, is this, right? And I'm not sure. Yeah. So well, this article is about XRP not moving yet. But yesterday we got the news that Ripple was starting a 750 million share buyback of Ripple equity at a $50 billion valuation. Now, generally, why I think that's bullish is not that it does anything to the price, because directly it does nothing to the price. But why I do think it's optimistic, it's for the long term, right? Because it shows a certain confidence within the Ripple leadership that, first of all, that they're able to buy at a $50 billion valuation, even though they raised money at a $40 billion valuation last year. But it also shows that where the markets are quite bearish, that's however Ripple is doing it, maybe through the acquisitions or maybe just through RLUSD and other business practices, they're able to buy back shares. They want to buy back shares, so they think it's a good deal. Otherwise, they wouldn't have done it. And it also signals that they're trying to do some equity centralization, which can imply other things for the future, such as a potential IPO, which creates a narrative for XRP to rally into. I'm not certain if that's going to have a bullish impact on XRP on its own, because we know that Ripple as a company, whatever it's doing and whatever money it's making, that has not necessarily created bullish momentum for XRP, but long term it does create a narrative, right? It does create a narrative and it shows confidence. So although short term we're not seeing that, and honestly, when we're talking about the short term right now, I still think eventually we can break out. But at the moment, it doesn't look likely. It actually looks a little bit more likely that we're just going to remain volatile within this range, and maybe because of the fundamentals, even get a bit of a spike into the downside. So short term, I don't think it matters that much. But long term, if we zoom all the way out for XRP, it makes it much, much more interesting to scale into XRP at lower levels, especially given that right now it's trading at a valuation of $84 billion. Drop down another 20-30%, and we're getting towards that fair valuation, or at least that fair value that they bought back at. And I do think that makes XRP a more buyable asset or a more buyable cryptocurrency, which hires the potential floor. And also, like I said, with a potential IPO in the future, creates a narrative that we can look forward to and potentially rally because of, which XRP has always needed in the past, right? So yeah, those are my thoughts on the news and why I think it matters long term. Like I said, short term, the price action is still a little bit shitty. So I'll keep you updated on that, but I wouldn't expect too much yet. At some point of time, breakout possible, but when that happens, I'll try to tell you as soon as I can, right? That's it for now. Thank you for watching, everybody. Take care, and I'll see you all in my next videos. Bye.
So as he mentioned, guys, the breakout is going to come eventually. So just be patient and don't panic just yet. Just be patient and continue to hold on, because at some point the pressure will break and things will start to pick up. But we just got to hang in there and wait for that moment to arise. Actually, I don't know if we even looked at that one yet. I mean, just trying to get some so I can put them on the video. Once the video is over, we're going to go back to X and keep pushing. Got a lot to cover today on this Thursday, Friday Eve. So this is Ginsenhaus CEO said honestly, XRP doesn't move like most cryptocurrencies. When it moves, it can go parabolic, just like it did in 2017. XRP could potentially surge past $100 in a single day.
But that's the utility.
Let's go back.
Louise Yamada say, the bigger the base, the higher in space. The bigger the base, the higher in space. The bigger the base, the higher in space. In my view, you have to have people start using that XRP, that Ripple currency, in substitute for foreign currency, but that's the utility. That's the use case for Ripple, the currency. If that's the case, then that's a pretty nice base right there.
Should we invite BK?
Oh, come on. Come on. Have to.
All right, come on.
Yeah, that video is low key infamous. This is David Schwartz, former CTO of Ripple, says banks have started integrating XRP, noting that Ripple banking infrastructure will run on XRP and the XRP ledger for payments. At the same time, big money and assets could eventually move through.
A press release with the bank.
Say real quick.
Banks, it's very sexy when you close a deal with the bank, you know, and we do that sometimes, but they're very slow movers. They're very slow to execute. They're very conservative. They're never going to be Ripple success stories, and it's hard to get them to push the benefits down to their customers because that's risky for them, and then it highlights where they're inefficient. So we focused a lot on banks in the beginning just because a press release with a bank is a big thing, but we discovered they're just very slow to move. Like if all they want is a press release, now we're like, hey, like we want to actually like move billions of dollars now. And they're like, yeah, we kind of don't. Banks, it's very sexy when you close a deal with the bank, you know, and we do.
So shout out to David Schwartz moving forward. Don't sleep on XRP and Flare. Better stack up before it's too late. Most people misunderstand Flare. It's not just another blockchain. After listening to Hugo's Phillips' latest interview, it's becoming clear what's actually happening. Flare is building the data layer for Web3. It unlocks things like the DeFi for XRP, native cross-chain interoperability, privacy, compliance, tokenized assets, verification system for AI models. Instead of chains competing We may be moving toward blockchain infrastructure stacks, XRPL settlement, Flare compute data, DeFi protocols, financial activity. If the architecture works, the implications could be massive. Full breakdown below. So shout out to Crypto Gold and the article. We might check that article out later. But this is the golden age of XRP is about to start. This is
firms, including Binance, Circle, Ripple, Gemini.
Not 100% sure why that video is so loud, but let's go back and start it.
What's going on with the big institutions? MasterCard just launched their crypto partner program with 85 plus firms, including Binance, Circle, Ripple, Gemini, PayPal, and Paxos. The initiative is focusing on cross-border payments, B2B transfers, and global payouts using digital assets. The Ripple team is also making huge strides here too. They just agreed to acquire the BC Payments Australia to secure an Australian financial services license. There are countless countries now that Ripple has their financial services licenses within. They're going to become their own financial behemoth, much like the other major banks, except for these guys have the tech. And you can also see the largest banks in the world are betting big on XRP. In fact, Goldman Sachs is now the largest holder of XRP ETFs with 153 million in holding. What's going
So as Levi just
on
mentioned,
with the big
XRP is expanding everywhere. So one more thing, if the Bank of International Settlement recognizes XRP as a financial instrument, this designation puts XRP in rare air, 30 plus per easy without other catalyst. 13 models, one crypto, wildly different answers. So we'll get to the models quickly, but this is XRP news today. Ripple to acquire the BC payment to secure licenses in Australia. So if you're not watching and keeping up, as XRP continues to expand into other markets and they get these licenses, that means they're able to do business in other countries. And the president's correct. As we continue to wait and fight these laws and legislation, as they continue to hold off on the Clarity Act, the rest of the world's moving forward. And now he mentioned that he's not passing anything into this Safe Voter Act or Safe Vote. Something is passed, which is going to put the U.S. way behind, right? Japan is on the verge of finishing their crypto legislation. Australia's working on it too. And it's going to be a first mover advantage. The first company to get crypto approved and operating will run crypto. And if we're going to wait for these guys to pass this legislation for this safe voter registration or whatever this voter registration law, which is probably not going to pass till the end of summer or maybe around the midterms, it's definitely going to hinder the U.S. in the crypto race, right? We're getting further and further behind with the whole SEC in, was it Gensler? And these guys fighting XRP. And like we've been talking about, with XRP and the lawsuit, they've already beat the SEC, guys. There's no more regulation that can happen or come back to slow XRP down, right? It's just Congress now waiting on the legislation. And with this legislation fight that's been happening, and with them getting the legal authority, now they just need to get the clarification. And whenever that happens, XRP will be one of the leading cryptos, right? It'll be XRP and Bitcoin. And since Ethereum isn't US based, XRP will be the leading US crypto. So it is going to go leaps and bounds, right? So once the SAVE Act, once that act passes, the banks don't want crypto to pass because it's going to be innovation, right? They don't want innovation. They've been doing the same batch processing for 40 years, and it's time for a change. And with Ripple getting their banking license, we don't need the banks anymore. And even the banks know that. And the banks want crypto because the banks want to get technology, right? They want innovation. They want to move forward. They want something else to help financial services move forward, right? And when they do get regulated, once they do get approved, once the Clarity Act is pushed forward and signed into law, everything will start moving faster. Is the bank, it's the bank that's stopping innovation in the Senate. You are correct, Everton. The SAVE Act does not stop Congress from voting on clarity. Congress needs to get its head. Yes, sir, they do. But the president said he ain't passing nothing until the SAVE Act pass, which doesn't really matter. But they got to get this stuff moving, right? Forget what everything else is going on in the geopolitical environment. You got to get some stuff passed, preferably past the clarity. But enough geopolitical talk. Let's get back to business. Ripple is to secure the Australian Financial Services License AFSL via BC Payment Acquisition. Ripple expands payments, offering over 75 licenses worldwide. Ripple price jumps amidst demand in spot and derivative markets. In the latest news today, Ripple plans to acquire BC Payment Australia to obtain Australian Financial Services License AFSL. This marks a significant expansion in the Asian Pacific region that bridges TradFi with digital infrastructure. Ripple's to secure the Australian licenses by acquiring BC blockchain payments and infrastructure giant Ripple to secure the Australian Financial Services license, acquiring a press release March 11th, which was yesterday. The company will acquire the BC Payment Australian Payment Ltd to obtain the license, with the acquisition to close on April 1st. That's a weird time to close. This XRP news highlights Ripple's strategy to enhance its payments offering by managing the full transaction lifecycle, including onboarding, compliance, funding, foreign exchange, liquidity management, and payouts using both traditional banking rails and digital assets. Australia is the key market for Ripple, as a AFSL strengthens their ability to scale Ripple payments across the region by leveraging blockchain technology and digital assets. Flora Murray, Asian Pacific Managing Director at Ripple. Wow, they got a managing director in Asia. This XRP news strengthens the utility for Ripple's assets, including XRPL, which is the XRP ledger, and its stablecoin RLUSD, accelerating cross-border payments for banks, fintechs, and enterprises. And keep in mind, XRP was the first crypto that had a stablecoin. The XRPL was one of the first stablecoins that they created, right? And they also was the first to come with the blockchain ledger and the token, right? And that's why a lot of these guys started fighting Ripple and slowing it down, right? The Bitcoin maxis saw Ripple's moving forward and wanted to slow it down. And yes, closing on April 1st is April Fool's Day. And the weird thing is some people actually believe April 1st is the end of the full calendar year. Some people believe April 1st is the actual beginning of the year, and some calendars. And some calendars, if they were 13 months, each month would have exactly 30 days. And the end of the year in the 13-month calendar would be April 1st. And that's why they make a joke out of it as the April Fool's Day to distract you. But that's here nor there. Back to business. Australia is a key market for Ripple, has strengthened our ability to scale Ripple payments across the region by leveraging blockchain technology and digital assets. Flora, this XRP news strengthens the ability for assets, including XRP, XRPL, and the stablecoin RLUSD. Ripple's execs include President Monica Long commenting on X about this XRP news. Licensing wins keep stacking, 75 plus licensing worldwide, and accounting compliance and how we scale, says Monica Long. Another licensing exciting milestone for Ripple and Australia. Ripple is obtaining Australian financial servicing licensing as they continue to bridge TradFi with the next generation of digital infrastructure. Regulatory compliance remains the foundation of everything we build. See if there's a video here. Let's see, where were we? What happened? And this was on the 10th. Oh, there is a little slick video. Okay, I see out here Ripple with the video in the background of Australia. I always wanted to go to Australia. Maybe we'll get down there with Ripple. Ripple, boy.
APAC continues to lead in digital asset adoption and innovation. We're seeing real momentum with financial institutions and with banks. That's why securing our Australian financial services license is such an important milestone. Customers in Australia will be able to leverage Ripple payments for real-time settlement, global on and off ramps, and last mile payouts, all managed end-to-end with Ripple. With more than 75 licenses worldwide, Ripple continues to lead on responsible regulation, and APAC is a major driver of that growth. We're excited to keep building across the region and to support the next phase of institutional adoption throughout Asia Pacific.
So shout out to Ripple and the Asian Pacific and Australia for joining the party. We missed you. Rumors says XRP can integrate payment method on X Money. It will become reality. We're talking about crypto payments inside one of the largest platforms on the planet. XRP ready for the spotlight. Watch closely. That's interesting. But I was looking at somebody else's information, and they were saying it's weird. All these things have X, right? XRP, XRPL, X.com. What was it? XLM, XDC. There's a lot of X projects. And if all the X projects were working together secretly, right, they could all be identified for things that start with X. Just something to throw out there. When you realize XRP still under $1.50 and financial infrastructure is shaking. What is this? XRP holders. After SAVE Act is passed, we gain electoral consequence against these politicians, which means they are forced to deal. Ergo, we get better legislation and more responsiveness. Clarity will then be the next to be passed. Then look the F out. Everything is primed for an event to occur, paving the way for Trump to browbeat Congress to pass another bill to make genius and clarity effective immediately. You already know the rest. Next week, I'll bring the SAFE Act to the floor. Senate Democrats will be forced to defend their outrageous positions on these issues and explain to the American people why common sense and the Democrat Party have to part ways.
It's pretty common sense, right? Mr. President, later today, we will finish up the 21st Century Road to Housing Act, the latest piece of legislation in Republicans' affordability agenda. And next week, I will be bringing the Save America Act to the floor, and we will be having a full and robust debate. So, Mr. President, what is the Save America Act? It is a package of common sense policies, the kind of common sense policies that should get an automatic yes vote from literally every member of this body. At the core of the Save America Act is the requirement that individuals provide proof of citizenship to register to vote and then show an ID when they go to the polls. In other words, it would require Americans to demonstrate that they're eligible to vote and that they are who they say they are when they go to do so. Not to keep using the word common sense, but it's pretty common sense, right? We require photo ID for a whole lot of things in this country for obvious reasons. Getting on a plane, show your official government-issued photo ID. Go to the doctor, same thing. Provide your government-issued photo ID plus your insurance card. Get hired for a new job. Provide your government-issued photo ID when you start. Mr. President, public libraries ask for a photo ID. In New York City, you have to provide some type of...
Well, I'll put this on my page. Looks pretty interesting, but I don't want to get too geopolitical. Moving forward, this is Chairman. What is this? SEC Chairman Paul Atkins says its time is right to open up the 13.9 trillion 401k market to XRP and crypto. Let's freaking go. Let's see. We were here. Ripple expands footprint in Australia. Ripple continues to scale its operations into the Asian Pacific region as the company payment volume nearly doubled last year. Some customers in the country include high payment transfers, Navit Group, Stables, Caleb and Brown, Flash Payments, and the Independent Reserve. Yeah, Caleb and Brown is actually based, and they're actually the sponsor of the BTM Crypto News Network. So look in the description, and you can use my link to sign up for Caleb and Brown. Continuing with the XRP news, Ripple comes and admits a broader global expansion, now holding over 75 regulatory licenses worldwide. As CoinGecko reports earlier, Ripple secures electronic money license in Luxembourg to offer services in 27 EU member states under a single passport framework. In related news, XRP expand payment platform to unify fiat and stable coins globally, integrating custody, collections, and liquidity management into a single system. The company has expanded support for RLUSD and regions such as Asian Pacific recently. So with that said, where are we? XRP's price action amidst positive news. Amidst positive XRP news and expansion over 75 licenses, XRP's price shows upward momentum. The price jumped about 1% to $1.39 in the past few hours. In 24-hour low and high are $1.38 and $1.44 respectively. Furthermore, trading volume increased by 37% over the last 24 hours, indicating growing interest among traders as Goldman Sachs tops XRP ETF holders list. And we looked at that already. CoinGlass data shows buying sentiment in the derivative market in the last few hours. Total XRP future open interest jumped 0.43% to 2.4 billion in the last hour. This XRP news highlights growing adoption and regulatory progress, driving potential price momentum for XRP. So now let's talk about something interesting. Researchers have recently asked 13 different artificial intelligent models to estimate where XRP's price might go in the coming years. These models analyze things like historic price trends, market cycles, adoption levels, microeconomic conditions. Some predictions range from modest growth scenarios, larger price increases if adoption expands, more conservative outlooks if the market slows. Several factors could shape the XRP future: institutional adoption, regulatory clarity, global payment usage, and overall crypto market. Developments involving Ripple's global expansion could play a role in how the ecosystem evolves. So, let me see. Where is it? Let's play this real quick, and then I'll get to the numbers.
If XRP hits $5, 10,000 XRP is going to be worth around $50,000. If it hits $8, 10,000 XRP is going to be worth around $80,000. These targets are based on conservative institutional models, so they're a lot more restrictive on what sort of targets they'd be setting, especially in public. In the next couple of years, I'm expecting the price of XRP to hit around $26, $27, which is around an 18x from here. So what actually needs to happen for XRP to hit that target? If XRP hits...
So shout out to investor Jordan. Now let's get to what you guys have been waiting for. Second quarter 2026, Bank of Japan indicates they will designate XRP as a financial instrument. Second quarter is only a few weeks away. And Everton, you're right, because I do remember that. Actually, earlier they did mention that next step for Ripple to issue stable coins for Australia on the RL or XRP L. And this is this the article? This is finally the article. So this is 13 models, 13 AI model predictions for XRP 2026 price. So we got ChatGPT, Gronk, Claudia, and Gemini revealed their predictions. Artificial intelligence is increasingly being used to parse financial data, but how well can it forecast the future of notorious, unpredictable digital asset like XRP? So we got Chat, we got Claudia, and we got Gronk. Last week, we posed a challenge to several of today's leading artificial intelligence models, asking them to estimate Bitcoin might reclaim the 100,000 mark and whether the asset could dip to new lows before reaching the milestone. This week, we stepped up the plate once more, turning roughly 13 distinct AI chatbots and asking them for XRP price forecast for 2026. To keep the exercise balanced, we polled a cross-section today of the most prominent AI systems. Rather than relying on a single digital oracle, the lineup included Anthropic, XAI, Google, OpenAI, Alibaba, Mistral, and others. This is a theoretical exercise. This week, XRP is changing hands between $1.34 and $1.46 per coin. Metrics indicate it slipped 2.8% this month and 31% over the past 12 months. It currently sits 61% below the $3.65 all-time high set on July 18th, 2025. As the seasoned crypto analyst, you are tasked with forecasting XRP's price by the end of the year. You must include 3 brief statements and explaining the reason behind your projection. So Claudia, 4.6 answered theoretically XRP price forecast by the end of 2026. Price range from $1.80 to $2.40. The sustained pullback from the all-time high suggests speculative fromp from the mid-2025s has largely unwound, and current $1.34 to $1.46 consolidation zone could be forming a larger term base of macro conditions stabilizations. Broader crypto market cycles, potential ETF developments, and Ripple expanding institutional partnerships could provide tailwinds in the second half of the year. Through reclaiming the $3 plus levels would require a renewed bull market catalyst. A realistic recovery towards $2 range reflects measured optimists, accounting for both coins' historic tendencies to rally and spur headwinds shown by the 31% year-over-year decline. Gronk's 4.2 agent. My forecast for XRP end of 2026 is $3.25 per coin. XRP's current correction from mid-July 2025 all-time high mirrors typical post-peak consolidation and crypto cycles, but the full resolution of the SEC lawsuit has removed a major overhang and unlocked institutional confidence. Spot ETF inflows exceeded 1.3 billion, combined with expanding real-world use of Ripple's cross-border payment via on-demand liquidity, are steadily rebuilding demand and setting stage for a strong recovery. A broader market expectations for new all-time high in 2026, voiced by Ripple CEO and echoed by analysts at firms like Standard Charter, support a measured rebound to the $3.25 adoption accelerates as the asset reclaimed lost grounds of its 61% drawdown. So Claudia's saying 240, Grunk saying 325. Venice, I don't even know what Venice is. Based on the analysis of the current market conditions, experts forecast I project XRP will reach approximately 250 by the end of the year. This forecast represents a significant recovery from current levels, but remains well below the all-time high. The projection is supported by multiple analysts who see that XRP's trading $2.50 to $4 range in 2026, with a midpoint around $3 and $3.50. Result developing includes the conclusion of the SEC case and the launch of the XRP spot ETFs created more favorable regulatory environment that should support price appreciation. Technical analysis suggests XRPs forming a bullish cup and handle pattern that could trigger a sustained upward move once key resistance levels are broken. ChatGPT 5.3 instant answer. As seasoned crypto analysts evaluate the price and historic behavior, my projection XRP around $2.10 by the end of the year. Reasoning: XRP is currently consolidating a tight band, $1.34 to $1.46, which typically signals a base building phase after prolonged downdraw from its July 2025 peak. Historically, assets that retrace roughly 60% of the all time high often stabilize before attempting a partial recovery towards the midpoint of the previous cycle. If a broader crypto market liquidity improves, XRP revisits even half the distance towards its prior high, and $2 region becomes plausible year-end target. DeepSeek with DeepThink answer. Based on the provided metrics, current market analysis, my forecast is that XRP will trade at the 280 by the end of 2080 cents. This projection aligns with the means outcome of $2.78 and the comprehensive AI driven Monte Carlo situation, which represents the average of 10,000 possible price paths and accounts for XRP high volatility. It also reinforces by Standard Chartered Bank's revision year-end target of $2.80, a significant adjustment that reflects more cautious market outlook following recent corrections. Furthermore, this figure sits within base consensus of multiple AI models like ChatGPT and Grok, which range from $2.50 to $4, contingent on continued but non-exponential institutional inflows via ETFs. Kimmy's end of year is $2.15 to $2.85. Reasoning: legal clarity from the concluded SEC case enables XRP ETFs that have attracted 1.4 billion in institutional inflows. Technical structure shows accumulation from $1.3 support with a break above $2, opening the path to $2.45. Regulatory tailwinds via Clarity Act and the DTCC integration provide concrete Q4 upside catalyst. What up, Dave? What's going on with your fam? Gronk's faster mode. As a seasoned crypto analyst, my forecast that XRP December 31st, 2026 is $3.20. This price reflects moderate recovery and current consolidation around the $1.30 and $1.40, driven by ongoing Ripple ecosystem expansion and cross-border payments, potentially further institutional adoption following recent ETF inflows and partnerships, and a broader crypto market rebound expected in the later half of the year, while extreme bullish calls reach $8 or higher based historical cycle patterns and regulatory tailwinds. The current downtrend since July 2025 all-time high of $3.65, combined with lingering macro pressures and holder cost-based friction near $1.44, tempers upside to realistic $130, 140% gains rather than explosive multiples. Risk like prolonged sideways action and renewed selling pressure could cap closer to $2.50. but sustained support about $1.30 and $1.35, and positive catalyst position $3.20 as achievable year-end targets. Claudia 4.6 year-end 210 to 260. The 31% 12-month decline in current consolidation between $1.34 and $1.46 suggests XRP in a prolonged accumulation phase. Historically, such compression periods before micro crypto cycle upturn have preceded sharp recoveries, a pattern consistent with the broader altcoin behavior in Q3 and Q4, of post-halving years. Ripple's expanding institutional partnerships and ongoing regulatory clarity in the U.S. market provide a fundamental tailwind that could reignite demand, particularly if Bitcoin dominance begins to rotate capital back into large cap altcoins as the year closes. However, XRP would need to reclaim the $1.80 to $2 resistance with zones sustained volume to confirm bullish trend reversal, and failure to do so, especially amidst microeconomic headwinds or renewed SEC related uncertainty, could keep the price range bound and making $2.10 more conservative base case and $2.60 contingent on a broader market momentum. Queen, I don't know what this is. Forecast $1.58. I'm not reading all this. Reasons $1.34 to $1.46. Suggest limited near-term downward risk, while oversold conditions on monthly charts could support a mean reversal bounce towards $1.60 resistance zone, aligning with conservative algorithm forecasts like CoinCoex $1.62 year-end predictions. Minstrel $1.20 to $1.60. Market sentiment and micro trends underperforming year over year reflects broader crypto market caution, especially around regulatory clarity and institutional adoption. Unless major catalysts emerge, SEC resolution, new partnerships, sideways trading is likely. Technical levels $1.34 to $1.46 suggests consolidation with resistance near $1.60 or $1.20. Pi AI XRP will close at $2.10. A gradual recovery is likely as regulatory clarity strengthens and Ripple expands its global payment partnership. The current under evaluation, combined with increasingly institutional interest in payment-focused crypto, will drive steady momentum through year-end. I think we already did ChatGPT. So ChatGPT says $1.72. The target assumes XRP recovers modestly from its current $1.34 to $1.46, but does not come close to revisiting the July 18th, 2026 all-time high of $365, with assets down 31% over the past 12 months and sitting below 61% peak. The broader trend suggests room for a rebound, through not the kind that would justify an aggressive moonshot forecast. In other words, it looks more like a recovery setup than fireworks display. XRP's trading near the lower end of the historic range relative to all-time high, which leaves room for a moderate rebound. Monthly decline of 2.8% suggests weakness, but the overall collapse pointing to stabilization rather than panic. A finish near $1.72 would represent realistic recovery from current levels without requiring a full trend reversal. Gemini projected a 385. Okay, Gemini. Institutional infrastructure maturity, the integration of Ripple Prime into the DTCC's clearing infrastructure, and the launch of the RLUSD stablecoin has shifted XRP into a speculative asset to a functional gas token for institutional settlement. Regulatory resolution anticipated passive of the Clarity Act by mid 2026 is expected to remove the final compliance handbrake, allowing U.S. banks to fully utilize on demand liquidity without legal ambiguity. Clinical mean reversal, having completed the 61 week corrective phase in March 2026, XRP is technically positioned to enter a third impulsive wave, historically the strongest phase in the micro market circles. Oh, no, you lying. AI trend models price the end of 2026. And let's see if we can snag this real quick. Taking together the forecast, paint a fairly measured picture. Most models clustered between $2 and $3 by the end of 26, implying a recovery from its current levels without demanding a dramatic return to the $3.65 peak in July 2025. In other words, the machines largely agree XRP could climb back into its feet, but few are betting on fireworks just yet. And I can buy that, right? Not a whole lot going on. And plus, with the madness in the political scene, it's probably going to be hard to skyrocket. But let's see what my main man, Stock Mo, has to say. And I'll be
into the TV, the articles online, your phone popping up, urgent. This is massive, blah, 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 blah. They do that because they want you to see it. But the truth sometimes is very boring compared to what the article headlines say. And so I thought, you know what? In this video, I'm going to give you a little bit of opposite of all the fear and, oh, it's so bad. How about a little hopium? You guys want a little hopium to, what are we on? Thursday? You want a little Thursday hopium to get you started? Because we got a lot here. I've thrown out the warning videos, and they're true warnings. Make no doubt about it. The president pulling out and saying the SAVE Act is the main act. I'm not doing any other bills. I'm not signing anything. Nothing until that's taken care of. And that could be all kinds of funding. We could, the Department of Homeland Security. We got the Clarity Act. You got all kinds of things that need to be taken care of. If he's not willing to sign anything, it is very, very close to what he did. And I had to do a lot of research on this, and I had somebody talk to me about it. And the discussion came to very similar situation back, I think it was 2019, 18. I don't even know. When he had the wall thing, he wanted funded and all this, that, and the other thing. This is a similar situation, I should say, in what they are doing to try to get what they want. And so I thought I would talk about this and how it could possibly create a short squeeze on XRP or other cryptos. It's kind of a sector that runs together. You're going to like it. So you want a little hopium? Buckle up, sit back, grab your morning coffee, tea, orange juice, or water, and enjoy. Hit the like button. And of course, put FF in the comments, stands for financial freedom, and where you're watching from today. Oh, I'm so sad. Now, I got to make one big announcement before we start. I am going to be live stream trading for the Discord today. You want to join the Earner Plus tier? First link down below. Get my indicator. Be able to be in there for the Earner tier. I'm going to be doing the live stream for them. It's going to be awesome. Yesterday we did it. Here was the numbers from yesterday. Massive win for the Earner Plus tier, the new one we do. It was just fun. It was our first Wednesday. It was only for the Earner Plus. Man, I love days like that. I could do it. If I could do that every day for every year, oh man, you guys can do the math. It's big. So we'll see how it goes. But today I'll be doing another one. If you're not in, first link down below, use code BREAD. You save 10% forever. And you can join that right there. And I do highly recommend it. Shout out to everybody who's in there. I know we had a front and options, Lurker, Dark Flyer. We had a lot of fun. Chris in there, Zebulon, Lurker, yes, Mark in the house, R Cube, Arkansas Dog, B. Dot, Eagon. We have tons of folks and the expert traders and the bots and the bread bot alerts and the portfolio and all that and more. So come on over and join us. Now, let's get into the FUD plus my hopium. And what do I mean by that? Well, the Clarity Act signed into law 2026, odds drop down to 62%. Still above 50-50, right? But the way you hear all this FUD and oh, it's terrible, everything come to a standstill, nothing's going to happen in DC mode. This is it. Why are you into a position when it's just terrible? I know. I read the news too, and it seems like it, doesn't it? And yet you have XRP, high 130s right now, and possibly, by the time you're watching, maybe it broke into the 140s. And I say that because when you're watching all that news, it just seems like everything's negative. Because the one thing they have learned in the press is that happy-go-lucky stories do not generate the views of worrying and causing that dreaded stress and panic. You know this. How many times you click on something that says, hey, great day today, compared to, hey, I have to warn you, you need to see this if you are, right there it is. You're like, well, I am, whatever the subject of the matter is, and that's something that people it's just how it works in the marketing world. And I see the same things coming through and I'm like, I need to check this out. And I go in, I'm like, and it is what it is. And sometimes the information is fantastic. Sometimes it's horrible. And it's like, this isn't even worth my time. So I get it. But I also understand with all that press that you sometimes lose sight of the mission at hand, where we're going, what's actually happening. And so I want to give you my prediction, my crystal ball. You guys know I have that stock mode crystal ball sitting in front of me. Eventually, one of my kids or my wife will buy me a real crystal ball that I'll use as a prop here, and we'll go with it, unless it got some secret power to it. But we'll never know. Anyways, let's go ahead and start with what I got here. And I call this, what you guys are going to hear, I call this the Stock Mo predictions for how I think things are going to go over the next 90 days. I can't guarantee it. I did a lot of research on this. And at the end of the day, I do believe this probably is going to be the way it all is resolved. And I know at the point I saw, I think it was Tillis and a couple of other senators out there talking with different meetings they had around the country. Also Brooks, I think, and a couple of other folks, all talking about still pushing to get this thing done, both left and right. We're talking Democrats and Republicans still on the banking committee pushing to get this thing done. And I think they can. And we'll find out. But here's what I think is going to happen. You know, as well as I do, if you've been watching the news, and this is some of that fear, uncertainty, and doubt out there, that the Department of Homeland Security, and we are talking the airports. Oh, the airports are beautiful, beautiful airports. You guys remember what happened to me in Florida just a couple of months ago. I went down with my wife to get away for a weekend, and that weekend turned into a week and longer. We went to our plane flight. That was when it was, the funding was all, they couldn't get the funding done, and it was shut down for so long. It was horrible situation. And the airline controllers, all of it, it was so bad, they canceled our flight. We had to wait, and I went to reschedule. We had to wait days before there was another flight. And so we booked it, and then we had to go back, and we stayed a couple extra days in Florida. And, even when we went back, it may have got canceled again, and it did take off. And I was like, oh my God. So, and then of course, shortly after that, they came up with an agreement because it got to a point that millions, if not hundreds of millions of Americans were being affected, and it was bad. And so now you're dealing with something similar. You hear Homeland Security, and of course, you're thinking the agencies that are in the news, dealing with all the topics that bring up the heat, fire, and everything from both sides. But there's one little group in here called TSA that are affected, and that affects the airports. And once again, you're going to have issues at airports where waits to go through TSA, if people are quitting, they're not showing up to work because they're not getting paid, and it gets nastier as the time goes forward, where to go through TSA, it might take 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, and it's messing with flights, and it's messing with people, and it gets nastier, and then it gets to a point where you don't have enough agents, and then they just can't do it. And so what is that breaking point? When is that breaking point for TSA where the airports are canceling flights and they just can't do it anymore? And it's affecting the economy. It's affecting everything. Well, I believe that happens in April. I believe it's going to happen in April. Oh, you heard what I just said. I know you heard what I just said. You did what, Mo? It's already bad now. I know. April is when it gets to the point of it cracks. It's bad. And there's an emergency. And so what I think is going to happen, there's going to be a mini deal, a small agreement. I don't know what it's going to look like for the SAVE Act so they can tackle the funding for, you're going to hear me say Homeland Security. That includes TSA. And so that's going to be something that's going to happen. It's going to make the markets very volatile. It's going to get nasty. But it opens up, in my opinion, it's going to open up a couple of week window where if the Senate Banking Committee has made progress, doesn't mean they're not working on this because they are. If they have made progress enough to get to the point we do a markup vote, it could happen during that, and they could do it, announce it, get it done during that 2 week period, maybe 3 week period. I don't know how many weeks we're going to have. So my opinion is that you have a breaking point for DHS, Department of Homeland Security funding. It cracks. Everything gets, I mean, it's all over the news. People are sleeping in airports again. It's just bad again. And eventually you have that opportunity where they put it in there and they announce it, and all of a sudden you see a massive spike for XRP, Ethereum. And you're like, what's going on? All the bears are toasted. We're eating bear burgers. And that's what I think happens. Now, that's my hopium case. Not, pretty much my base case for what I think is going to happen. It could happen a little before, a little after, but right in there. Now, we go to May, because that's April. That's my April prognostication, my stock Mo crystal ball. And we move in. The intra-agency pivot, I call this one. And we're talking about also Brooks and Tillis again. I brought them up a little earlier. The compromise fails to appease both the American Banking Association, which you already know they've been, I'm throwing the steering wheel out. We're not doing anything to compromise, even though there was a little bit of they had the ABA bankers meeting today, and one of the banking committee folks talked there and told them that we're not going to allow interest on stable coins just sitting there, zero, and everybody cheered. But they also came out and said, we are going to have to compromise, and there will be some rewards on active activity. And of course, they didn't all cheer. And so it was nice to see them tell them you're going to need to compromise. And they did say that both sides are not going to like the final product. And that's just something you have to accept. But we move on. And so that was brought up. And that made me feel good because it tells me that they're being real and not just saying what they want to hear. And so we'll continue to see that. But with that interagency pivot, we're going to see Project Crypto, the thing I've been talking about for a long, long time before anybody else, it's going to come, and you're going to see massive agreements between the CFTC and the SEC. Rumor has it, from what I'm hearing, and my little birdie's tweeting that the CFTC is trying to move in with the SEC so they can have better working environment together, quick decision making in possibly the same building down in DC. You're going to have the SEC and possibly now the CFTC. And if that is the case where they're moving in together, oh, this is a marriage for the long term. And it could move where they're releasing that joint token taxonomy, and it could give the rules of the road for crypto moving forward, which just goes around. And you're going to say, well, what's the big deal? It goes around the Clarity Act. In Congress, we don't need them. But the only bad news is that can be changed by the next administration years down the road. Doesn't mean it's going to be happening now. Obviously, we don't have a presidential election for years. And that depends on who wins. Is it going to be a pro-crypto candidate or a not pro? I'm not saying Republican, Democrat. Pro-crypto candidate or not. And we'll know during the election. And then we'll know who wins. And then you'll know what to do. And they can change that. Now, if it's codified by Congress, the Senate, the House, and then the president signs it and it's pro-crypto, very difficult to change, no matter who's in there. Now, that's what I think happens. The regulatory heavy projects will all of a sudden go with the CFTC and the SEC, Selig and Atkins. They'll give us the guidance. They'll tell us what to do. And we just get around all this legislative drama. Oh, but it can't be done. We can't do it. We do. We get around it. Money will inflow. And of course, as the election comes, you'll see de-risking. But that is 2.5 years from now. 2.5 years from now. So Project Crypto, think about it. You have, and just think about it this way. Who's the president? That's right. Does he have business and money in crypto? Yes. Is it just a little bit? No. Is he going to do everything in his power to push that higher, to give it and keep his campaign promises and everything, both because his family businesses are in it and because it was a campaign promise? Yes. So even if it is regulatory, the way he does it, it's still going to get done. But for the Democrats, absolutely hate him. I mean that's pretty much, I think that's a given. But the thing is, they need to understand that America and crypto have been here for a long time, and we want clarity. And it doesn't matter if you hate him. The industry, the sector is not going anywhere. It is a national strategic industry now, and it helps support the dollar. Get in there, help it, give it the clarity it needs. Don't be bought out by the banks. Help, help, help. Is it going to happen? I don't know. But even if it doesn't, I still expect a good move higher on crypto as we move forward because of what I just said. Now, the last thing, I bring up June. I wanted to give you 90 days of what I thought was happening. So I gave you April. I gave you May. Let's move into June. Now, June, we know that the midterms are approaching quickly in June. Oh, June, Mo, what do you got in June? Well, we got November coming, and we're almost ready for summer break down there in DC. After summer break, they only meet like 30, 35, 36 times until the election. Like they don't do a lot after that. They're back in campaigning. They're trying to make sure they're elected. It gets nasty. All right. And so usually nothing gets done. But I still told you one thing. We could see a slimmed down version of the Clarity Act. And if that happens, we got an opportunity to have it passed on, clipped onto a must-pass funding bill like the defense, the overall budget, all that stuff that can get done between April and the end of June. And if it gets slid onto one of them and Project Crypto comes out with the CFTC and the SEC and it kind of adds on to the pieces that were taken out, you got a massive, massive chance for crypto to have a good run, because then you got some clarity, something we've never had before. It all comes down to how good the clarity is, and we got to pay attention to it. There's no guarantees, but that could happen. But here's the deal. You're not going to have any floor time for project or for the Clarity Act. I told you they only meet 30-something times, July, August, September, October, November, 5 months, 150-something days. They only meet like 30 to 40, 30 to 35 days. You don't get a lot of time. And they're not going to do anything to help the president say, my crypto agenda was met and we did it. They're not going to help him do that. They want to get elected, so they can't give the other side, even if they wanted to. They won't, and that's terrible for America. And I know you guys are saying it doesn't matter who's in charge. If one side doesn't help the other, that is beneficial for the overall country because of an election coming up. I understand why they're doing it. It's just a horrible system because all you're doing is punishing America. America as a country competing with all the other world is terrible. To sit there and see it held back because you don't like the other side and you can't give them a win that they can talk about during the election. So that could happen. So I expect worst case scenario, nothing gets done. We get up to that point. We get in July, August. It's not going to be done. The soon as you will see it is after the election. They come back. They go back to work. It's called a lame duck session where those who aren't going to be here anymore, they're going to get voted. They're done in January or whatever that comes in. They still have a month and a half to do what they need to do to 2 months. So at that point, they bring up all the stuff that hasn't been here, and it could pass during the lame duck session because now, people don't have anything to lose if they're getting voted out and they are pro crypto. There you go. I would think that if that's the case, we go down to $1.10, that $1 to $1.10, $1.15 zone. And that means everything's failed. Nothing's worked. We're in that zombie session where nothing lame, and we got to go all the way up to the lame duck session. And that's the worst case scenario. And I still think we stay at $1 to $1.15. Now you can say, well, Mo, we're roughly 130, well, high 130s. And I know that means you could lose 40 cents off this thing, which is a 35 to 40% drop. That's nasty. I don't want to see that. But if Project Crypto, the taxonomy, all that good stuff from the SEC and CFTC come out and it could help push it higher, we could get some good news. So I'm hopeful on that. And that's what I wanted to bring up to you guys today in this video, which I hope you enjoyed. No fancy graphics. I don't flip back and forth. This is just for those who really care about what's going on. You care about your financial future. You want the best info you can get. You just got it. And I believe my
So shout out to Stock Mo for that. Keeping it moving. Let's see. Move this monitor out the way a little bit. Okay. I think this is Oscar. Was it the buyback confirmed? Yeah, I guess. Actually, I freaking skipped something. Let me play this real quick.
This shocking forecast could turn $1,000 into $30,000. Don't miss the details. Amid massive ETF inflows and institutional cold storage vacuums sucking up 500 MEM plus tokens, XRP is trading at around 1.40 per token, down 26% year to date, but showing bullish patterns like whale accumulation. Geopolitical tensions and RLUSD adoption for cross-border settlements are fueling demand, while supply dynamics tighten. Analysts from eGrag and Standard Chartered predict peaks up to $42 if catalysts like the Clarity Act and 8B ETF inflows materialize. Volatility means epic trading profits. Act fast. Click the link in bio on BingX and grab your free 10K USDT bonus to start.
So that was a quick short. I think there's one more. Yeah.
2026 price prediction.
In my opinion, if the alt season will continue and this bear market won't last that long, which I think it won't, then I'm expecting XRP is gonna break this previous important high. By the way, we are from this high currently down around like 62% of the net market. The biggest dump was around 70%. And in my opinion, we are gonna break it. So I'm expecting here a move of at least like 170% of the net market.
XRP 2026 price prediction.
In my opinion, if the alt season will continue and
so I guess we'll finish up with I guess we can run this buyback video. Let me see. Yeah, let's run this buyback video from Van Winkle.
Why isn't anyone talking about the Ripple buyback that was just announced? 750 million buyback, putting a valuation on the company at 50 billion, while at the same time, 200 million XRP moved on chain right before the announcement. We're going to talk about it, folks, and what this means. Is it even true? I got you covered. Plus, we got a little connection going down between Ripple, DBS Bank, and Franklin Templeton. That's right. Welcome back to the show. This is my road to 20,000 subs on this channel. You already know what to do. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. If you're not already a member, hit that subscribe button. It's free. It costs you nothing, and it helps me grow. Let's have a quick look at the markets. Pretty boring, pretty rangy, pretty choppy, right? Bitcoin back above 70,000, coming in at 70,444. ETH coming in at 2,073 as XRP still within that range, $8.38. Total cryptocurrency market cap floating around 2.37 trillion. Not too shabby, but I want to see it back up. 4 to 5 trillion would be an absolutely beautiful spot. So much money would rotate into XRP at that point, and we would break out from that all-time high. So let's talk about it. You can see it here highlighted on your screen. So Ripple, $750 million buyback. What it actually means here. So Ripple just launched this share buyback, right? 750 million bucks, pushing its company's valuation to 50 billion. At first glance, this confused a lot of people because the buyback isn't for XRP. It's for Ripple company shares. And that right there, that's important. Remember, Ripple is a private company, and a buyback is basically how insiders get liquidity without going public. We're talking about your early investors, your employees, and your venture funds. They can sell some equity back to the company. Think about it like a mini IPO, but for insiders only. And we're not inside that circle yet. And this isn't the first time Ripple has done it either. If you remember, earlier buybacks happened at 11 billion and later around a $40 billion valuation. Now the company is valuing itself at 50 billion. That's a massive jump. The signal here isn't about XRP supply. The signal is that Ripple believes its future valuation will be even higher. But critics immediately pointed to something else, because just before the announcement, did anyone catch it? 200 million XRP moved on chain. And that's where the controversy starts. So let's get over to this. I asked Claude about this. I was like, yo, Claude, is this true? What does it mean? What is it? Why aren't they buying back XRP if they keep saying XRP is at the center of everything they do instead of their company shares? So let's talk about it. The idea is simple. Ripple holds tens of billions of XRP. If they sell some of those tokens, yeah, they could raise cash. And then that cash could theoretically be used to buy back company shares, which benefits the equity holders, not necessarily your XRP holders. That is the core criticism here. But there's an important detail that most people miss. Ripple and XRP, legally separate assets, right? Ripple executives and investors, they largely hold equity, not just XRP. So when the company makes financial decisions, they often optimize for the company's balance sheet first. And that's just normal corporate finance. But here's the twist, because even if XRP sales were involved, which Ripple has not confirmed, the buyback still sends a major signal. Because companies do not just spend $750 million repurchasing shares unless their future business growth will justify it. And that growth, it is deeply tied to one thing: the XRP ecosystem. Think about that. But the next signal, this might actually matter more for XRP itself. And let's talk about let's jump into one of my sponsors here. My new wallet, my new beloved wallet, Tangem. I've told you before, I've been a Ledger guy for 9 years, 10 years, multiple Ledger devices. I mean, multiple. 4 or 5, I think I'm up to. Ledger's a great product, don't get me wrong, but Tangem just hits so differently. This thing is the size of a credit card. No 24 words that you got to punch in, laminate, somehow get them over to a printer, destroy any electronic copy, worry if someone's watching you or if you're putting it into a spam site. This card, you get 3 of them, right? You got the first, it has your backup. It's in the chip of it. You get the second, you tap it to the first. You get the third, you tap it to the first. You got 3 backups now. No cables, no wires, nothing. Nothing at all. Tangem never gets exposure. No one gets exposure to that backup. It's in that chip. And that chip's the same chip they use in passports and military IDs. Tangem's been around for a hot minute, folks. I'm a big fan. Big fan of the mobile app. I love this thing. I will do a giveaway at one point. I will. I link this wallet down below every single video. I think you get about, I don't know, $10 off if you want to buy it. They already got 20% off and up to $20 in Bitcoin if you buy it. Use my link. You help support the channel. Let me know how you feel about Tangem. If you already got one. I know a lot of people already got one. They've been around for a while. I'm telling you, this is a big step up for moving from that Ledger and that little device I had to go fish out and get the USB cables and plug in. This thing is absolutely massive. Now let's talk about the 1.4 billion signal from XRP ETFs. While all of this debate was happening about this buyback, another data point quietly appeared. And a lot of people, they've given up on ETFs because they haven't moved the price yet. But they don't understand ETFs, the long-term game. They accumulate XRP slowly and steadily. They remove it from the over-the-counter market until one day there's no OTC left and price goes absolutely parabolic. You've seen it with Bitcoin. You've seen it with Ethereum. XRP spot ETFs have taken in 1.44 billion in inflows since launch. What is even more interesting is that those inflows continued during a price pullback. Now, normally when price drops, your ETF accumulation money, it slows down. But the opposite's actually happening here. Capital keeps coming in. Ripple's Brad Garlinghouse, you see him right here, little eye emoji. Some people may look at him like, he's just putting a response, there's no thought behind it. But his response matters here because ETF flows represent your institutional positioning. Goldman Sachs, the largest holder of XRP ETFs. Retail traders react to price. We all know that. Institutions accumulate during weakness. So when ETFs keep pulling in capital, everyone, while price drops, it usually means someone is building exposure quietly behind the scenes. We had no idea. I had no idea. I don't want to speak for everyone else. I had no idea that Goldman Sachs was the largest XRP ETF accumulator. That's massive. All we need is BlackRock or Fidelity to enter this game. If you mirror the exact same companies that have Bitcoin ETFs launched and you brought them over and had them launch XRP ETFs, you would see one of the most historic price explosions in a large cap coin that you've ever seen. It's that simple. They're taking in, I believe Fidelity does about 500 million a day, give or take. BlackRock is doing over $1 billion. I mean, XRP ETFs do 20 million. Even if you split the difference and we go from, say, 20 million to 700 million, every single day we're talking. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen to that XRP that's on the the over-the-counter markets. It's going to go away. Where are they going to have to go? They're going to be forced. There's only one place forced to buy at that point. Your market makers will have to come to the public order book. They'll have to buy it. The price will jack up, and then they can sell it over the counter to the exchanges. Do you really think your over-the-counter, where these institutions are sourcing from, are going to be like, oh, you're out of supply, we can't get it anymore, and the market maker is going to lose the money on that? Of course not. If you run a retail store, a retail shop, and you don't have an item that is hot because you're out of stock, what do? You look around you, who has it? You buy it from them, and then you sell it back to them. You don't just close up shop at that point, folks. Think about that. We just don't stop. Now let's talk about this. Ripple's bigger strategy, RLUSD and infrastructure. We all know Ripple hasn't just been building around XRP. They're also expanding the entire ecosystem here. They're buying different companies. They're working on and deploying enterprise payment infrastructure. And now a stablecoin that they launched, RLUSD, which has absolutely exploded in the ranks. Are you kidding me? At first glance, some people still do question it today, right? Ripple's forgotten about XRP. It's only about RLUSD. That's not the case, folks. They play hand in hand with each other. They're creating financial rails that institutions can actually use. This would limit their actual exposure to XRP. They wouldn't have to hold it right now during these choppy markets. They can get RLUSD, use XRP as the bridge. And if they're going to be using XRP or the XRP ledger, they need to buy XRP. They need to hold it on their balance sheets. And they know it has a dual purpose, not only as an investment, because it can go up or down in value because investments work both ways, but they can also use it to send money and to lower their remittance costs by 90%. It's a win-win. Which moves us over to this. DBS Bank just connected Ripple to tokenized finance. That's right. March 10th, 2 days ago, DBS Bank released its 2025 annual report. Inside the report, under strengthening businesses, DBS highlighted something specific. The listing of RLUSD on DBS's digital exchange. But that wasn't the only thing, because they also listed Franklin Templeton's tokenized money market, SG Benji. Remember SG Benji in that Ripple presentation? You know what this can do, right? Their clients can now trade RLUSD against the SG Benji 24/7, 365, which tells us something important here. Traditional finance, tokenized funds, and Ripple infrastructure. They are all interacting right now inside of the same ecosystem. Think about that combination. Ripple, DBS Bank, and Frankie T. 3 completely different financial rails now operating on the same digital rails. And suddenly the broader strategy, it starts to make more sense. Folks, what is happening around Ripple right now isn't just about a buyback. It is about infrastructure, private company valuation rising, institutional ETF inflows continuing during weakness, and global banks like you see on your screen integrating Ripple's digital asset ecosystem. All these pieces together, they might look unrelated at first, but they tell us a different story. Financial systems don't change overnight. They change through infrastructure first. Liquidity rails, settlement layers, tokenized assets. And the markets usually notice after those systems are already built. Right now, the signals are starting to line up. The market hasn't reacted yet, but it will. But the system, it might be already be moving behind the scenes. And once it gets in front of those curtains and it steps onto the main stage, you better get ready, because that's when the fun begins. I hope you enjoyed. As always, hit that like, subscribe. I'll catch all y'all on the next one.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining. Let me know something. If the adoption continues growing globally, what price do you think XRP can realistically hit? in the next bull run? $3, $5, $10, or higher? So let me know in the comments. Ripple's expanding into new markets like Australia shows the company is continuing to build international payments. At the same time, crypto markets continue to explore how assets like XRP might fit into the future of finance. Whether AI predictions turn out to be accurate or not, the coming years will likely be interesting for the XRP ecosystem. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you like the video and subscribe. And for more updates on XRP and crypto markets, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. So, as always, let's get back to the money, guys, and stay dangerous. It's your main man, BTM, signing out. And peace out. And I'll see you soon. What up, Tony T? Thanks for joining. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And it's your main man, BTM, signing out. Miners out.